103.2 Preston FM.
Keeping it local.
Nice to welcome my first guest on Chat City on this Wednesday afternoon, and it's Jackie Hohol, who is a business connector with business in the community. So, Jackie, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Quite a mouthful there. So I take it you don't have that title written on the door of your office?
No, definitely not.
Anything shorter?
BITC.
So, for our listeners, paint us the picture. Tell us a little about what a business connector does. And I take it, do you work in Preston or across the county?
I'm the first business connector in Preston, and they place one of us in each of the locations that are chosen. And at the moment there are 118 connectors in 74 different locations, and we are seconded at the moment from 34 different companies to work with business in the community. And our job is to talk to local charities, education, social enterprise, find out what they need and go and try and source their needs from local business, normally free. Often free. So yes, we find ourselves cap in hand quite a lot around the city, seeing what we can find.
So how long then have we had people doing your job in the country? I mean, and how has this come about? How is it funded?
So it's a big lottery funded charity that started in 2012. So they are looking to put around 200 people to work in over 200 areas, within 5 years. So quite a big programme, and one person, even covering this size of location, can make quite a difference because it's our focus, it's what we do every day.
So somebody recognised then that there was something missing within a community, and you're the person now seconded into that post to actually change that so that, say, 12 months, 15 months down the line, that need is no longer going to be there. That's so right. What is the kind of daily work, what is the kind of hands-on work that you're doing then within the community?
So we would meet with a lot of the charity organisations, community centres, we'll talk to people who work in education, maybe even the prisons, and look at what they struggle with, what they could be supported with by local business. And when you then go talk to local business, you'll find very often they've got teams of people wanting to volunteer, or they have skilled people wanting to offer those skills, and it's marrying the two up, and it's making those connections so that you get them right in the first place so that they become more long-term and sustainable.
So is it a partnership then between private enterprise and communities?
It is. That's what you're aiming for. You want them to work together so that the skills that the businesses have got can be given to support local charities and for the better, really, for the community.
And is it a kind of one-way street, business to community, or is it a two-way street?
Definitely two-way. And you speak to employees of local business, they definitely want to give something back. More businesses now are realising that they need to act responsibly and give something back as well, and allow their colleagues to be able to do that. So to go out and volunteer for a day when you're working in a busy office and you don't always get to know the people who are working around you, to spend a great day somewhere doing something that really matters and chatting to each other and actually getting to know a little bit more about each other, it's superb. The feel-good factor at the end of a day doing that is amazing, and we find that the majority that go out and do that will do it again.
And how readily acceptable are private enterprise when it comes to working alongside or working within community groups?
Very. Yes, it varies with companies. It'll depend on their culture and what they do and which are their chosen charities to work with. But you'll find an awful lot of them now will allow their staff to have a whole day where they go and put something back. Lloyd's as an example, that's my background. We're allowed a day to make a difference. So when you're talking tens of thousands of staff all being given the option to go out and do something, to give something back, it's amazing the amount of things that you can achieve. It's good.
So someone is given a day to go and work in the community or support in the community, or wow, that really is quite interesting, because I'm sure in the past that private enterprise hasn't always been, readily available to be able to work side by side with communities.
That's right. Or they've sort of come for a day, painted a fence, and then gone back to the office, and that's the end of it. What this is about is trying to make it more than that, so that we generate some really good relationships that are going to last. But the ones we've done so far have been really good. The team ones they absolutely adore, and some people don't want to go out with a team. They'd rather offer personal skills. So we've got people mentoring at work clubs. We've got people building websites for charities because that's their skill. We've got people offering social media courses for free because, the importance of that for a charity, for their PR, is probably underestimated. So it's using your skills as well.
And within this area, so far, any opportunities for jobs developed for people who are out there in the community with some of the businesses, etc., or is that not part of the remit?
It is part of the remit. It depends what we come across, and every city is different. We've done some work supporting people who find employment. So Preston Vocational Centre, they do an awful lot of work to support young people with training and skills that will get them apprenticeships. But to be able to do that, they need paint, they need wood, they need grant funding. So I've put them in touch with somebody at the local council that can support them with grants. I've put them in touch with a social enterprise that can give them paints for next to nothing. So actually supporting them to do what they do is all part of it as well.
And what is some of the need out there that you've come across, or need that you're now identifying for the future?
There are a few things that will still be around when I'm not here. Business in the community will put somebody into Preston. They commit to a 3-year programme, so hopefully they'll things that I can hand over. We have a superb potential for a community cafe in Ashton Park, which will be amazing if we can get that sorted. And we have a homeless shelter at Brookfield, where a church is needing to come down, and the whole new building going up there, which will probably start next year. So they'll be the types of things that I hand over. And then a few of the things that have started that you would hope would continue for a long time are where I've got a homeless shelter called Love Preston, who are receiving the end of day breads from Greggs, because nobody wanted to bin those, but they didn't quite know what to do with them, and Love Preston didn't know who to contact. So knowing where to go has apparently in week 2 they fed 80 to 90 people based on the food that came from 4 shops.
Yes.
Amazing.
Wow. It is, isn't it? That really is quite something. And when you talk about the possible coffee bar, cafe in Ashton Park, how would that kind of materialise? How would that come together? Would it be the community and private enterprise working together to bring that to fruition?
It could be a mixture of things. When you look at how to do that, you can either go and try to source funding, because it's a community venture and somebody might offer a grant, or you could partly fund it and go to people like some of the big builders, your Carillions and Amy and United Utilities and the MOD and those kind of places, to say what have you got in skills and supplies that you might be able to offer. So it could be a collaboration of big companies that help, or it could be one company that thinks we'd really like to take that on because it's a superb legacy and we'll do it all.
So is it particularly then from the workplace where they're putting time and resources into it, or do they actually sometimes put finance into it?
They sometimes put finance into it, yeah.
And that must be quite something these days, given the recession and given the struggle that a lot of companies are seeing.
It is.
For them to want to put some finance into a community these days is just so encouraging to hear.
I know. And the social responsibility is seems to be becoming a bigger thing at the moment. When you talk to people are more aware now of the need to give something back and where that places them in the community. And it's the feel good for them and the kudos for them as well. It is a two-way street, and they get something good out of it too.
Wow. Well, we'll just play a piece of music, and then if we can, we'll come back and find out about people who are listening to the programme at the moment, how they may come across you or maybe can help in some kind of way, so we can talk about that?
Okay. Thank you.
And in the studio with me is Jackie Hohol, who is a business connector, bringing business and communities together in the Preston area. So, were you given a blank sheet of paper when you got the job?
Pretty much. You know what your remit is and you know what you need to achieve, but as far as the city's concerned, you're given a couple of contacts that are standard and the rest is a blank sheet of paper. So you spend the first month searching online, loads of research, just meeting as many people as you can possibly meet, finding out what they need, and then you've got to go try and talk to the businesses and the resources that you can find to go source it. So it's good.
So the first business that you made contact with was, I mean, how did you explain to them what it was all about, and were they ready to come on board with it once you'd explained it to them?
They were. I went to the council first to have a look at what they do in the community, and they understood it. They'd seen it and heard of it, but had never met a connector before because there hadn't been one in Preston. So the first place that they sent me to was the Council for Voluntary Services. So you start to understand from there very quickly what's around and who you should go speak to. And every person you speak to, you ask the question, who else should I talk to? And another door will open, and the web of contacts becomes quite immense.
And I mean, are you working with all ages from, you know, from 16, 18 upwards? Is it very much young people? And what about maybe helping young people get into apprenticeships? Is that also part of the remit through some of the work that you're doing?
It is. You would support anything like that. And there's a little bit of work to do around some primary schools at the moment. I met a sports coach a couple of weeks ago that is offering service for those. I work with veterans at the other end of the scale, although the veterans are all ages. I've still worked with some at the other end of the scale. So yeah, it covers just about everything, really.
And at the end of the day, you feel good about what you've achieved once you go home and you put your feet up? Are you then planning the next day?
Definitely. You saw my email times last night.
Yes, we were communicating, weren't we, late last night?
Late. So yes, the day starts early and the evenings end late, because you find there's 101 things going through your head, and you start to think about the people that you've met and who you might be able to put them in contact with and what you can do to help them. Little light bulb moments happen at any time of day, and so yes, I'm still mailing quite late on to get things sorted.
So what was it when you saw the job description for this job that you're now doing? What was it about the job description that you thought, wow, I'd love to do that?
I actually heard somebody talking about it. One of the Lloyd's connectors came onto a call at work and told us what she was up to, and it just sounded perfect. And you do go home at night feeling really good about what you can achieve, and it is surprising, I think, how much you can achieve as one person once you've got that network, and once your contact list starts to grow. It is quite simple to make some very easy connections that can make quite a big difference.
Right. Any particular criteria when it comes to communities being involved with this? Is there a criteria?
No, not really. For us, we look at education, employment and enterprise as being three key things, but then all of the other charity organisations fall under another umbrella. So there's very little with community work that we wouldn't really touch, or we try to find them who they need in other places if it didn't fit with us, because we're one of the Prince's charities, so we find that there's other people out there that might be able to support where we can't.
And as I was saying, for people who are listening, how or where are they likely to kind of come into contact with yourself or come into contact with the business and community sector that we're talking about now?
So if anybody uses community centres or uses the resources that are out there, so places like Dig In Northwest is for veterans. If you're a veteran, you go there. We'll have touched something with that charity. If you use the Space Centre, we've supported that charity. If you use the Vocational Centre for training, we'll have touched something there as well. So it depends what you do locally, I suppose, as to where you'd come in touch with us. From business, it depends also what you've got to offer, and that's what we need to probably research more now to find out what else is available. That's my next step, to widen the business connections that I've got.
I would imagine there's also some nice relationships developed between people in the community and people in the business world.
That's right. Where you've got one-to-one mentoring going on, that's probably the key one. But also you can put charities in touch with charities. So we have several veteran armed forces charities that are all linked together, and one of them is a horticultural therapist, and the Space Centre needed a sensory garden, so they're doing some work to have a look at plans for that as well. So it's good to connect the charities together as well, because they can share resource and share volunteers, because volunteers are always the hardest thing to find.
And what are the things that you need to take this forward in the future? I know that you're on the lookout for various things, whatever people have got hidden away or themselves.
Yes. Often it's volunteers are always the hardest. So there's so many organisations rely completely on volunteers, and that's really quite difficult. So if anybody has any time to offer, that would be superb. If anybody from business thinks they could mentor people or give them advice on things like CV writing at the work clubs, or mock interviews and interview presentation advice, that's always very useful as well, because we're connected to some of the work clubs. If anybody has skills or a business that can provide those skills, such as leaflet printing, PR, IT, marketing, social media, that's always a biggie as well with the charities. That would be brilliant. And anybody has anything to donate that would be good for raffle prizes, because most of the charities find their funds through creating events and holding raffles, and that's how they get little bits of money in that keep them going.
And Jackie, where's the best place for people to go to find out more about this, and maybe ways of making contact?
Either through Preston FM or via Business in the Community, which is bitcconnect.org, I think it is, online. Yep.
And I'm sure lots of things that you've done whilst you've been in post. I mean, the enthusiasm certainly comes across in just talking with you here in the studio. Is there something that's a kind of number one to you, something that's happened so far and you think, wow, that was absolutely brilliant? I know there'll be lots of things, but is there one achievement so far, or an achievement still to come that you want to go, wow, that was great?
There's two, I think. Three. Greg's and the food, we've already mentioned.
Yes.
I really like that one.
Yes, that really is quite interesting.
That's a good one. The community cafe in Ashton Park, definitely want to deal with that before my term ends. That's the one that I talk to lots of people about, because I can see the potential, and I can see what that could be, and everybody hears about that one when I talk to them. And another one was quite a small charity called Armed Forces Group, who were they were based within the Council for Voluntary Services, and got a couple of weeks' notice that they had to find new premises, or the charity may not exist anymore. And by chance, really, I found them new premises in Cotton Court, within an hour of leaving their offices.
Within an hour?
Yeah, so it really is amazing how you just discover things or uncover things, and how things happen. I've been very lucky with some of them, but that was a good one.
Right. So what do you do in your spare time? My next guest, who's coming on the show later, I usually talk with him about business, because he's from Central Lancashire Business Club, but today we're talking about Scottish dancing. So what are your interests in your spare time when you get a little spare time?
I cake decorate.
Do you?
Yes, but mostly for charity, funnily enough.
Yes.
So most of mine go for raffle prizes, but yes, I cake decorate.
Brilliant. Well, Jackie, can I thank you for coming in, and maybe we can continue to follow you in your post, and certainly an interest in, are you finding people are interested in that in Ashton Gardens to bring about the coffee house?
Yes, they are. They're starting to show interest. We're talking to enough people now that they're having a look at it, so fingers crossed.
And again, what a lovely way of bringing people together and getting people out of the community. Maybe people who sometimes are isolated a little out there in the community, if there was a place for them to go, because Ashton Park is a lovely park
beautiful.
To drop in for coffee. Jackie, been a pleasure meeting you this afternoon.
You too.
And thank you for coming into the studio. A big thank you.
Sunday nights from 9. Join Steve Franklin live for Preston FM's weekly request show.
Could I have some Pink Floyd for my mum?
Gino by Dixie's Midnight Runners.
Can I request 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, please?
What a way to make a live.
Lavender by Marillion.
Sunday nights from 9. 103.2 Preston FM. The weekend stops here.